Welcome to Spurs Focus, your go-to spot for daily Tottenham news, transfers, and match updates. Don't forget to support the channel by hitting that subscribe button now. Let's dive into today's top story. Kevin Danso didn't hold back after Tottenham's chaotic night in Norway. Spurs fell 2 goals behind to a Jens Petter Hauge. Masterclass before a late own goal saved their Champions League campaign. Danso called the goals very annoying and admitted his defensive game must be stronger. But he also praised Spurs' never-say-die mentality that has now produced 2 straight last-minute comebacks. Is this resilience a sign of Frank's new era, or just papering over cracks? Kevin Danso admits that it was very annoying for Tottenham to concede twice in the way they did against Bodo/Glimt in the Champions League. The Norwegian side swept into a deserved 2-0 lead thanks to a Jens Petter Hauge, double only for Spurs captain for the day, Mickey van de Ven, to head a goal back. Then in the 89th minute, an Archie Gray shot was pushed out by the Bodo goalkeeper, and against his own defender, Jostein Gundersen, to bounce into the net and to spare Tottenham's blushes. Danso came into the defence for injured captain Cristian Romero and admitted that Hauge's finishes were excellent, but frustrating. They were very good. I mean, we knew before he was a very good player, and he showed quality with the 2 goals he scored. But from a defensive standpoint, obviously very annoying because you want to keep the clean sheet. But they were 2 good goals, and we had a tough time, said the Austria international. The centre-back added, "We know from last season they're a very good side, very, very good football. Especially in the first half, it took us a while to figure out. We went down and I think we just showed our mentality that we're difficult to beat. We came back and we're happy to take a point away from home." The late own goal meant it has been back-to-back games in which Spurs have hit a late leveller to rescue a point after grabbing a 1-1 draw at home with Wolves in the Premier League on Saturday night. Danso explained why that comeback ability is in Thomas Frank's team. Just hard work, staying in the game no matter what situation, no matter what the state of the game is, said the defender. 1-0 up, 2-0 up, 3-0 up, 1-0 down, 2-0 down. Just hard work and always wanting to score, always wanting more, and defending at the same intensity no matter what the state of the game is. With the partnership of Romero and Van de Ven, the main one at Spurs, Danso has had to take what he can get in game time, which meant stepping into the breach in the Champions League suddenly after Romero's contact injury against Wolves. Of course, when you don't play as much, it's always a bit difficult. But I feel like I've got enough experience now. I know what it takes, and I just know defensively I need to be stronger, a bit stronger than today, he said. But I feel like with the experience, 9 years professional now, it's just part and parcel of football. You've got to be ready for the opportunity when it comes. Tottenham survived a nightmare in Norway. Bodo/Glimt ran Spurs ragged and left Thomas Frank's men shell-shocked in a performance far from their dominant win back in May. With Richarlison struggling, Dominic Solanke injured, and the hosts missing big chances, Spurs were lucky to escape with a draw. Is this a warning sign for Frank's new era? There are 2 ways of looking at Tottenham's shell-shocked performance beside the Norwegian Sea on Tuesday night back in the small town of Bodo. Firstly, it was nowhere near the professional physical display Spurs put in at the Aspmyra Stadion in May. On Monday night at his press conference, Thomas Frank had done everything to distance himself from that 2-0 win 4 months ago, while stating that no parallels could be drawn. However, in the same room the next night, after the game, the Tottenham head coach referred back to that previous victory 3 times. On one of those occasions, he said, "I think it's also fair to say that we didn't touch the ball in the first half last season either, and it was still 0-0 at that half. I think they were slightly better today in the first half, Bodo, so I think that's more respect to them. Slightly in this instance would be like saying it had been a slightly long wait for Tottenham to win a European trophy, the night before they lifted that one in Bilbao." For Bodo was so much better than Spurs that one of the greatest mysteries of this season might just be how the scoreline was indeed 0-0. At half-time as a penalty was missed. Another unmarked effort from 8 yards was sent over the bar, and Tottenham spent much of their time run ragged by the hosts' attacks. In contrast, Bodo barely threatened Tottenham's goal in either half back in May against a visiting side that bullied them throughout with their physical play. The second way to look at it, though, is that this Bodo/Glimt side are far better than they are given credit for and their home record in Europe is dominant. Spurs' win in May was an outlier at a stadium where many have come and failed. So regardless of how fortunate Spurs were to escape with a draw, they still managed to come away with something few have managed, and that's a promising sign, regardless of how it came. Under Ange Postecoglou, when Tottenham stank, so did the result. Under Frank so far, when the performances haven't clicked, and it's still very early days in him imprinting his ideas on the squad, they have at least grabbed a point or three, the Bournemouth game aside. Football. London asked Frank if with so many games and some key injuries in attack, he was having to throw together starting lineups and might not yet have worked out the right blend, balance and formula. The Dane thought for a moment before saying, "I think that's too early to judge in my opinion. You can say we didn't play our best first half today, but I made it very clear from the beginning, I have a big respect for Bodo, and everyone should have for what they do and what Kjetil Knutsen is doing." I think it's also fair to say that it went quite well against Wolves in the first half, so I know that's a bigger perspective. I think it's overall, you can say with a lot of games, that go-to starting 11 you like to find at a certain stage, that's something I'm looking into. Which is normal. New coach, new players. And we still need to do a little bit of rotation. So in essence, Frank didn't agree, but kind of did. A key miss for him has been the unavailability of Dominic Solanke. The striker and the club have finally had to give in to undergo a minor procedure that is expected to fix his ankle problem and keep him out only for a few more weeks, with the international break eating up the bulk of it. If you're looking for differences to May, Solanke was one. Not only did the England international score, but he provided an outlet for Tottenham to get up the pitch, either through his hold-up play or his dribbling. That day Richarlison played on the left of the attack, meaning the Premier League side had two physical threats up top. This time the Brazilian played up on his own through the middle and looked like a man who has been playing far more football than his body has been used to over recent years. His work rate has dipped accordingly, and so has his hold-up play. It was like kicking a ball against a wall at times for his teammate, only it would bounce to Bodo players. Richarlison was not alone in being far less impactful than in May. Brennan Johnson offered nothing other than the second half shot that Rodrigo Bentancur turned into the net, only for a Mickey van de Ven shirt pull to result in it being ruled out. What was also disappointing was the Wales international's efforts, or lack of, in the physical aspects of the game. One in particular came on 32 minutes. Bodo con Glimt were awarded a penalty, which came after Johnson barely attempted to jump for an aerial challenge. That meant a free header for the defender to guide it, unhindered where he wanted, and Frederick Andre Bjorken was played in wide on the left of the Spurs box, where Rodrigo Bentancur's late lunge brought him down. Johnson and the Uruguayan's blushes were spared though, when Casper Ho blazed his penalty into the net, only it was the netting hung high over the crossbar to prevent the ball from flying out of the stadium and into the road behind. Pedro Porro was another who had a very different game to last time out in the little coastal town. He did contribute again at the attacking end of the pitch, this time hitting the right-hand post with a free kick, and then curling in a great cross for Van de Ven to head home late on and kickstart the comeback. However, in defence, the Spaniard had already been given a torrid time by Jens Petter Hauge. The Bodo number 10 finally grabbed the goal the host deserved on 53 minutes when he cut inside from the left, turned Porro inside out, and curled a shot into the far corner of the net. 12 minutes later, Hauge again left Porro dizzy in his wake, before smashing a low shot into the bottom right corner. Frank was asked whether the plan had always been for the Premier League side to give up so much of the possession to the Norwegian side in their 8,270-seater stadium, and try to hit them on the counter. I think that was what we wanted. Hopefully also you saw that we went high pressure sometimes. It was not that we never went high pressure, he said. So the plan was both to go into the high pressure, which we did on several occasions, and also succeed with those situations. And then there were times when we were a little bit more banked in. You know exactly that we were 4 months ago, because they're very, very good at what they're doing. And then I think the counters should have been a little bit better, but I think the main bit was that when we were on the ball, we threw the ball away too quick. Frank's subs at least made a difference. Xavi Simons, Mohamed Kudus, Joao Palhinha, and Archie Gray all made a direct impact, while Destiny Udogie added some much-needed balance. Xavi drove through the centre of the midfield constantly and ensured Bodo had something more to think about. He's a really good player. He can create a lot of special things. I think you saw today he came on and did really well, Van der Ven said of his compatriot. Most of the time he plays, you can see the creativity he has on the wing, even if he plays there. Kudus caused problems with his twisting and turning runs, and curled in a great cross that the inconsistent Wilson Odobert headed against the crossbar. Palhinha added some bite after the midfield trio of Bentancur, Pape Matar Sarr and Lucas Bergvall had been overrun. 19-year-old Gray again showed that he can get into good positions as an 8, and it was his run into the box and shot that the keeper could only push against Bodo defender Jostein Gundersen, and the ball bounced back into the net to spare Spurs blushes. Gray will be pushing for a start against his boyhood club Leeds on Saturday. And like Bergvall, a run of starts in his favoured position could be what kicks the £40 million youngster on at Tottenham. Gray is seen as a potential future leader, and Frank has named one such player for the now in his leadership group. Van der Ven took on the armband after Christian Romero missed the trip to Norway following a contact injury against Wolves. The 24-year-old Dutchman was named skipper ahead of Guglielmo Vicario, Porro and Bentancur, who Football.London reported this week is close to agreeing a new contract with Tottenham. While the defence was all at sea at times, Bodo is a coastal town after all. Van der Ven was trying to lead the way with his drives up the pitch, and his headed goal was something Frank has challenged him to do more of from set pieces, although this one was again a second phase effort. The Dutchman did lose his head once with a lunging tackle when running back later in the game, and there was that shirt pull that was as subtle as the bright yellow Bodo flags that hung off every other house in the town. Overall though, he led the team when he needed to, and it was a role the young defender will grow into, as Frank admitted that his leadership group is almost ready to be announced. Yes, I have made a decision on the group. I haven't told the players yet, and that will be on Thursday. So I made the decision, but it's probably pretty obvious he will be in it, said the head coach.